coincided with the rise of the rave dance era of the 1990s. Ecstasy combines the stimulant and alerting effects of amphetamine with euphoriant and mild hallucinogenic properties, probably due to its interaction with serotonin receptors in the brain, as well as the dopamine system. Ecstasy was freely available until the mid-1980s, when it was made illegal on both sides of the Atlantic and classified as a Schedule I narcotic, that is, a dangerous drug with no medical uses. The properties of the drug are well suited for the rave dance scene, allowing users to stay awake and active all night, and inducing a pleasurable feeling of well-being. Following the ban on ecstasy, a number of the designer amphetamines, which lay for a while outside the legislation, became popular. But ecstasy has proved more popular than any of these, especially in Western Europe. During the summer of 2000, ecstasy also became a cult drug for the rave dance scene among young people in the USA. Supplies are readily available from illicit laboratories in Holland and other European countries. Some East European countries have started a new export industry based on supplying ecstasy to the US market. Several 100,000 young people use the drug every year. It is not without danger. Every year, the newspapers carry tragic stories of young people who die as a result of taking the drug. It tends to cause an increase in body temperature, and this, together with a lack of water or suitable soft drinks, can lead to dehydration and death. The number of fatalities is, however, very small by comparison with the widespread consumption of the drug. One has to conclude that it does not warrant the Schedule I dangerous narcotic classification currently given to it. And this, too, was the conclusion reached by the UK Police Foundation in its report on drug laws in the United Kingdom, published in 2000. Ecstasy bears a clear chemical resemblance to amphetamine, but it also resembles the hallucinogenic compound mescaline, which is the active ingredient of the mescal cactus, used by Mexican Indians for many centuries in religious rites. Mescaline was discovered by the West as one of the first hallucinogens, and the experience was wonderfully well described by Aldous Huxley. Aldous Huxley's mescaline experience. I took my pill at 11. An hour and a half later, I was sitting in my study, looking at a small glass vase. The vase contained only 3 flowers, a full-blown Bella Portugal rose, shell pink with a hint in every petal's base of a hot-earth reindeer, a large magenta and green-colored carnation, and, pale purple at the end of its broken stalk, the bold heraldic blossom of an iris. At breakfast that morning, I had been struck by the lively dissonance of its colors, but that was no longer the point. I was not looking now at an unusual flower arrangement. I was seeing what Adam had seen on the morning of his creation, the miracle, moment by moment, of naked existence. A bunch of flowers shining with their own inner light, and all but quivering under the pressure of the significance with which they were charged. I continued to look at the flowers, and in their living light, I seemed to detect the qualitative equivalent of breathing, but of a breathing without returns to the soul, with no recurrent ebbs, but only from beauty to heightened beauty, from deeper to ever deeper meaning. Words like grace and transfiguration came to my mind. Huxley, 1954. Nowadays, mescaline has fallen out of favor, but the more potent hallucinogen, DLSD, remains very popular. Like ecstasy, LSD is closely associated with rave dance culture. The drug interacts potently with particular serotonin receptors in the brain to cause intense auditory and visual distortions and hallucinations. It is so powerful that the human dose is about a quarter of 1 milligram, 1,000th of a gram. The drug is usually dispensed as a drop of drug solution dried onto a small piece of blotting paper, which is swallowed. There is little evidence that LSD users become dependent on continuing supplies of the drug, but there can be adverse side effects. Not all LSD experiences are pleasurable. The bad trip can be an intensely unpleasant and frightening affair. Some users become deluded and may cause their own unintentional injury or death. For example, thinking that they can fly and jumping out of a window. Heroin and cocaine, dangerous narcotics. In the debate about hard and soft recreational drugs, there is little doubt that heroin and cocaine are regarded as hard drugs. But attitudes in the West have changed over the centuries. As we have seen, opium was widely available and used in the 19th century, both for medical and for recreational purposes. It was not until late in that century that restriction was first placed on its use, as the problem of addiction was recognized. Cocaine also enjoyed a brief vogue in the 1890s, after it was first isolated as a pure compound from coca leaves. Cocaine was incorporated into a number of freely available tonic coca wines, and as an ingredient in the original Coca-Cola, until its dangers were recognized. Heroin. The powerful natural drug morphine, from the opium poppy, was a mainstay of medicine for many centuries. Heroin is a synthetic chemical derivative of morphine. It is more potent than the parent drug, and it enters the brain from the bloodstream more readily. This, together with the preferred route of injecting it into a vein, makes heroin the drug of choice for recreational users. Heroin users describe the rush of intense euphoria and the high that follows intravenous heroin as intensely pleasurable. The intensity of the intravenous heroin high makes heroin use very likely to lead to dependence and physical addiction. Withdrawal from heroin is an unpleasant and potentially life-threatening experience, with liability to diarrhea, painful stomach cramps, headache, nausea and vomiting, and possibly convulsions. These physical signs are accompanied by an intense craving for the drug. Heroin addiction is an appalling condition. In addition to the hazards inherent in the drug itself, users are likely to die from overdose because the street drug is of variable potency and quality, and at high doses, the drug depresses respiration. They also run the risk of infection with hepatitis or the AIDS virus, HIV, because they tend to share the needles used by other addicts to inject the drug. They will develop tolerance and require ever-increasing amounts of the drug to satisfy their craving. Like morphine, heroin acts on specific opiate receptors in the brain. As in the case of cannabis, these receptors are not there to recognize the plant product. Instead, they recognize a family of naturally occurring messenger molecules in the brain, the endorphins. There are several different endorphins, and at least 3 distinct types of opiate receptors. But one in particular, the mu-opioid receptor, MOR, seems to be responsible both for the pain-relieving and the pleasurable effects of morphine and heroin. Mice that are genetically engineered so that they do not express MOR in their brain no longer seek out the drug, and it has no pain-relieving actions in such animals. The use of heroin